justly. You know, we need people to explain.
Okay, no, the Jewish Defense League was literally what the name said, was defense. Now, I know, like, I grew up in Borough Park, and if you wanted to go swimming in a pool in the winter, there was one pool in the borough of Brooklyn. It was at, I think, the St. George Hotel, which a friend of mine, his father-in-law, bought and owned. I couldn't go to swim in the St. George Hotel. Why? Because my name is Abraham. I was a Yid. No Jews. I was in the army. I was married then, and I was in the Korean War, and actually there was no real anti-Semitism except for one sergeant, but I don't want to talk about him. He's lucky I got shipped out of his outfit. Anyway, my wife came down to join me, and they had quarters on the base where, you know, for families, where you rent a room for a night or a couple of nights. And so I brought my ketubah to show I'm married. And there's an elderly woman there, a southerner. I'm down in Virginia. And I handed her, she says, I can't, this is word for, because the Hebrew was the face. She said, I can't read this gibberish. I said, it's in English on the other side. And then, she was a woman, so I couldn't respond. It was a man, I would have, God knows what. He says, how do I know the woman you're bringing is your wife? I went back to my captain, who wasn't Jewish, and I told him, just because I'm a buck private, I don't have to take this racist stuff from her. He says, you're absolutely right. And he filed a complaint against her. This is it. And that was the only, I had a cousin who was a little older than me. World War II, he was in the Coast Guard. He fought every day because he was Jewish. Had a fight with whoever it was, everybody picked on. My experience in the Army was very favorable. I met one particular, I'll never forget, was from Connecticut. Now, this is not exactly the boonies. Connecticut is part of the greater New York area. He thought, this is an intelligent young guy, and we had a crowd, about 15 guys, and we'd go out, you know, to the PX, we'd get some drinks or hot dogs and all. And so and instead of everybody paying, one guy covered the whole bill. So it's the second or third time I came and I covered the whole bill. He says to me, Harvey, you really can't be Jewish. I says, what? What do you mean I can't be Jewish? I'm Jewish. He said, not what I heard. He says, tell me, you don't know any Jews? He says, no, tell you the truth. He said, all I know about Jews I heard from my aunt in Connecticut. And he said, you're the first Jew I actually ever met and spoke to. He says, I don't know. He said, you paid the bill just like the other guys. You took your turn. He says, you're like one of the guys. You're just like us. He says, I was taught. He says, you know, he says, actually, I was looking for your horns. He says, I actually learned from my aunt that Jews had horns on the head. He says, boy, he says, am I in for an awakening?
But there really is militant anti-Semitism in the United States. There is.
No. Are we talking now or back then?
Well, we're talking what the JDL was formed.
JDL.
Yes.
Oh no, absolutely.
Talking about the JDL tonight.
No, the JDL served a valuable function at that time, because there was nobody we would say, well, to use a nice word instead of the Yiddish word, which is more expressive. Nobody had the guts to stand up. And we're proud to be Jews, and in plain English, wouldn't take any crap from somebody throwing it at a Jew. And actually, many years later, I did that a little bit. It's a crazy story. I'll tell you what happened. And I was never a fighter. Cycle's in. Okay, good to see you, Ben. All right. I wasn't a fighter. If I ever got in a fight as a kid in school, I lost. Anyway, you want to hear the story, really?
I want to hear the story about Kahane.
No, it wasn't Kahane. No. But I learned it from Rabbi Kahane, though. No, there was a point. You have to stand up and be count. There were very few of us, but we did a good job. And I heard when Rabbi Tzvi Block mentioned that this Russian came to him, he says, if it weren't for Rabbi Kahane, he says, God knows, we'd still be in Russia and know what would happen to us. And I know, because I went out when we picketed the Russians, the stuff, and they had some, remember they painted two of their planes. They painted. I didn't actually put the paint on, but I was there. And put it this way, it's like the American Revolution. A minority stood up and we got a nation. And Rabbi Kahane was like the American patriarchs of our country. He was a minority who knew what was right, got the message from Hashem, and he attempted to deliver it to a stupid, stiff-necked people who wouldn't believe what he said. They didn't appreciate what they had, and we're paying the price now. And I'll be laid to rest without ever seeing the fruits we might have had if they had listened to Rabbi Kahane. But God willing, my great-grandchildren will see that. No, to be able to see Israel even live in peace. Forgot they got a country you can't even print on a map. You can't print their name. It's not big enough. And what, you got 23 Arab nations? They control the UN, and they don't want it? No, I'm sorry. I happen to have had, what's his name? In college, 1947, 1948, Hazam Pasha, Secretary General of the Arab League. He was a brilliant scholar.
He was a teacher?
A history professor. Yeah. And Hazam Pasha. And I asked him what was going on. I never forget. He put his finger up to his head, and he said, up here, the Arabs will never accept the Jewish presence in the Mideast. And he said, unfortunately, we can't do anything about it because we fight too much among ourselves. And over the years, I have seen some of his writings and quotations in different stuff, and he was much more forceful than that in what he wrote and what he told me. But they never will accept us. And anybody that thinks that you're going to give a little bit more to the Arabs today so they'll be nicer tomorrow is a fool.
Including the establishment of a Palestinian state.
That's a problem. That I don't know. Let me put it to you this way. I remember I had a guide who was in every one of Israel's, I think I was there in 1990. He'd been in all of their wars, and he said, when we took Yerushalayim, he said, we could have snapped our fingers and the Arabs would have fled. He said, we wanted to be finer mention. He says, and now we got a cancer that we don't know what we can't do with. I don't know what the solution is. I think Rabbi Kahane probably had the best, is you buy them out. And, but Israel doesn't have good PR. This is the problem.
And do you think Israel will have peace with 1/20th? I mean, with a 20% population of Arab?
No. Will they have? I don't know. I don't know. You got some of them that want to live with the Jews. I'm talking about the who are in the Knesset, yeah. And then you got some of the others that it's a fifth column like they had in Madrid, in Spain. They're backstabbing. They talk nice. It's like Abbas. The difference between Abbas and Hamas is Hamas comes, Hamas tells you the story. We don't want the Jews. We're going to kill them. We're going to get rid of them. And Abbas says, it coats his enmity with honey, with velvet, right? And when he gets what he wants now, then he'll go to the next phase. Ultimately, his goal is the same as Abbas. We don't want any Jews here, period. Okay.
Is it okay if I use this news story online and maybe even on TV?
On TV?
If we get it on,
yeah,
Shalom
of course,
TV?
Of course.
On Jewish Life TV?
Do it after I leave this world. I don't know.
You're going to Israel, right?
No, I'm going. My grandkids are coming here.